I've been seeing plenty of posts on here about the strangeness of the rules, regulations, and guidelines that people have to follow at their jobs. And I thought that it's about time I disclosed my experiences as well, from the very beginning. Not every single detail will be accounted for, but almost everything I had to go through, especially my heroics and my failures, will be recounted. This will not be a short story, so please be prepared for what you are about to read. This definitely is not a job I would have considered applying for in the first place, if the pay wasn't mouthwatering and that my cousin hadn't already been working there. She let me know of the perks and the extremely gratuitous benefits package that came with it. I got an email almost the next day for an interview after applying. It read, "Hello, Mr. Winchef. We here at the Redacted Zoo cordially invite you for an interview for our zoo specialist position. I am sure you have gone through the necessary requirements and responsibilities of the position. We are basically set on selecting you because of your work ethic explained through your resume and through the recommendation from Haley. We just need to be certain that you are more than ready for the task at hand. Please come by the headquarters located at Redacted at 1:45 p.m. next Tuesday. Please arrive 20 minutes early to ensure that you are well prepared. Now, I will list a couple of pointers that you must follow before and upon arriving, as well as for when you are in the process of the interview. Before arrival. 1. Since you are a male, wear a plain, gray, 2-button suit. Make sure the suit fits well on you, and it does not slouch or cause you any discomfort. Under it, wear a red or black button-down dress shirt. Depending on the color of your shirt, wear the opposite color tie. For example, if you wear a red shirt, sport a black tie and vice versa. Your dress pants must be slightly baggy, and they must reach past your ankles. Your pants must also be either gray, red, or black. 2. Eat a large breakfast and lunch if you are still hungry an hour before the interview. The interview itself might take quite a while depending on how vigilant and steadfast you are. If you become hungry at all during the interview, your application will be disqualified, and you will be escorted out of the compound immediately. 3. Bring with you a notebook, either black, red, or gray, as well as a black ink ballpoint pen. The notebook must be 3-pronged. Composition notebooks are not allowed, as they are seen as unprofessional in our workspace. Carry the notebook and pen with you at all times. Do not put them in a bag or anywhere else unless instructed to do so. Upon arrival. 1. Park your vehicle on a spot outlined in either red, blue, or green. Do not, under any circumstances, park in a visitor's parking spot, or a parking spot outlined in any other color than the 3 aforementioned ones. Failure to comply will not only mean a dismissal of your application, but of your vehicle as well. You have been warned. 2. Your view of the animals will be obscured when you park in the parking lot. But if you should sense or encounter any animal, no matter what they are, and there are no zoo employees near them, keep your head up, walk at a brisk pace, and do not make any eye contact with them. If they start to follow you or their calls get louder, ignore their presence completely. We cannot stress this enough. 3. Leave your phone, wallet, keys, and anything else you have on you that are not the notebook and pen in the bin marked Candidate Paraphernalia. You may only collect them after the interview process has reached its conclusion. In the event that the bin is not in the same location as it first was, let the receptionist know, and sit in one of the chairs in the back of the room, away from the entrance and the receptionist desk. Do not, for any reason, leave your seat, no matter how long it takes for your belongings to be returned to you. I assure you, they will be. During the interview, 1. Greet your interviewer with a smile and introduce yourself with your full name. We will know if you leave any part of your name out of your introduction. Shake their hand firmly and sit in the seat to the left of them. There is a possibility that you will be joined by someone else during your interview, and you do not want to be sitting in the right seat when they arrive. Wait 11 minutes after their appearance before speaking to look at them. 2. If your interviewer has a pet with them, which can be any animal kept here at Redacted Zoo, greet the animal as well by its full name. To know its full name, ask the interviewer the question, "What is the name of this magnificent creature?" Verbatim. Once the full name is known, stand up and greet the animal with, "Good day to you," and take a bow. Do not forget this step. This is for your own safety. 3. In the rare event that you have more than one interviewer, you can make eye contact with them, but do not greet the interviewer to your right. If you do, we are not liable for what will happen after. I am aware that this is much to remember before a simple interview, but these pointers are of the utmost importance and must be followed to the letter. Your safety is our biggest concern. We here at Redacted Zoo are more than excited to potentially welcome you on board as our new zoo specialist. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to email me or ask Haley. But any questions that we do not deem you worthy of an answer will not be answered, no matter how many times you ask or you may persist. Have a nice evening, and I look forward to welcoming you to our team. P.S. Attached to this email are the directions you must follow if you want to make it here on time for your interview. We suggest that you leave around 11:39 a.m. from your area to ensure promptness. Best regards, Vicky S., VP of Redacted Zoo. I was practically sweating beads for the entire 6 days before my interview. I'm a serial overthinker, and so I read and reread the guidelines for an interview as many times as I possibly could. I bought a new 3-pronged notebook and a black ink ballpoint pen. I spent the money on a custom-tailored gray tube-button suit, a freshly ironed and untouched red shirt, paired with a sleek black tie. As much disdain as I had in wanting to go through with this, I had some reassurance. I asked Haley plenty of questions after reading the email, and she set me to ease with her responses, until I got on the subject of the animals at the zoo. At that point, she audibly tensed up, and replied with an "I cannot say" for every question regarding them. I brushed it off as nothing important, and on Tuesday of the interview, I checked to make sure everything was in order before heading over. The drive there was arduous. The map that was attached to the email led me through plenty of dirt paths and side roads, devoid of existence beyond the wind and some trees. Some roads were long and sinuous on the way to the headquarters, but regardless, I ended up at the facility at 1:15 p.m., a good 30 minutes before my interview. I pulled up the email from Vicky. Park your vehicle in a spot outlined in either red, blue, or green. To my dismay, there were absolutely no red, green, or blue outlined parking spots near the entrance or in the front of the lot. I had to drive all the way to the back, near the forest that bordered the zoo to find one, only one open green spot. I parked swiftly, got out, and almost forgot my notebook and pen before grabbing them and latching them to my armpit. I took a quick swig from my flask before setting it in my glove compartment, a ritual that I had performed before every job interview. My overthinking self stopped me instantly. I peered at the pointers again. Carry the notebook and pen in your hands at all time. Done. My armpit was free of their presence. I started the slow trek to the entrance. The afternoon sun penetrated my eyes, my view stifled. I remember my armpits being drenched from the beginning. The inside of the building was becoming clearer when a soft noise pricked my eardrums. It sounded like the croak of a frog. I nearly turned to look in the direction the sound was coming from, but my ever-vigilant mind reminded me, if you should sense or encounter any animal, no matter what they are, and there are no zoo employees near them, keep your chin up, walk at a brisk pace, and do not make any eye contact with them. I kept my eyes up towards the sky, as the croaking grew louder and louder, pounding against my ears, attempting me to force my gaze its way. I did not see a single employee in sight, and so my feet trudged down quickly. The walk seemed to take an eternity, each step heavier, each breath more visible than the last. Sweat flowed out like a small waterfall. I eventually reached the double doors of the office and the croaking had ceased. Wiping away the nervous sweat, I walked inside. "Hello, Mr. Winchef. You look nice today." The receptionist gave me a bright smile. She looked a little bit like Harley Quinn, but without all the makeup and tattoos. Her dirty blonde hair was tied back in two bobbing ponytails. She wore what I assumed an employee uniform, a crisp gray silk jacket, bordered with black and red stripes with the words, "Redacted Zoo," plastered on the front heart side pocket. "Thank you, Miss Jello. Do I sit here?" She looked at me with a perfidious expression. "Aren't you forgetting something?" What sounded like bones breaking was her index finger, pointed strictly at a bin marked, "Candidate Paraphernalia." I already forgot a rule, though meticulously studying them day and night. "Oh, I am. Thank you for reminding me." The nervousness in my voice was palpable. A guttural voice filled the room. "You almost got us killed." When I looked back, Jello was smiling at me, unwavering. I looked at her hand that was on her mouse. That thing definitely was not working anymore. She had crushed it in its entirety. I disregarded it, smiled back at her, and placed my belongings in the bin. "I will let you know when your interviewer is ready for you, Mr. Winchef. Until then, please take a seat." I checked the clock on the wall. 1:36 p.m. Miss Jello kept typing on her computer, but her eyes never left my face. "Your interviewer is ready for you, Mr. Winchef." Jello gave me the same menacing smile, her eyes seemingly torpid, but definitely vigorous. "Thank you, Miss Jello." As I reached for the knob, she clenched my wrist with an unbreakable grip. I tried to resist, but she wouldn't budge. She uttered but a few words. "Don't mess up." That low tone she had addressed me with before had come back. "I won't." I placed my palm on her hand. She relented, sitting back in her chair, clicking away at her keyboard and broken mouse. It's fair to say that a part of me was already pondering if I actually wanted to go through with this, but another part of me knew I might be in terrible danger if I tried to leave. I entered the interview room. The interviewer looked at me with a cold expression as his hand reached out for mine. In my mental state, I must have ignored it and I proceeded to sit down. As soon as I realized what was going on, I shot back up and grabbed his hand with force. He didn't even flinch. His frigid glare stayed intact. Over a few eternal seconds, he lightened up. "Hello, and you are?" "Greet your interviewer with a smile, and introduce yourself with your full name." I put on the most counterfeit smile in history. "Hi, my name is Chester Ulysses Winchef, Nice to meet you." Our handshake was brief and stern. We both sat down, me taking an extra precaution to sit in the chair opposite and to the left of my interviewer. As I settled in the blink of an eye, a bird perched itself on his right shoulder. This particular bird would be a constant problem for me in the future. His name was Pincer. His feathered coat was leathery, with splotches of red and white haphazardly dotting the body. A cryptic symbol was imprinted on its beak, too small to recognize without a magnifying glass. That's all I can tell you about Pincer for now. Of course, at the time, I did not know his name, so I followed the rule. "What is the name of this magnificent creature?" "He is a parrot. His name is Pincer." I stood up, smiled, and said, "Good day to you, Pincer," and bowed to him before sitting down.
"Did I say you could sit down, human?"
I stumbled back up, kicking my foot against the desk. I resisted the pain coursing through my toes as the fear in my throat would not allow me to say anything to his question. This voice was more demonic than whatever grating undertone Jello had made. My nervous hands intuitively went into a praying formation, and I bowed my head as low as I possibly could. Tears streamed down my face. I sensed death in front of me. Pincer's entire body had grown at least 5 times in size, clutching on for dear life on the poor interviewer's shoulder. The only details I could point out were his talons. They were ferociously scarred, with bits of blood, hair, and flesh draping over them. A thick viscous goo subjected itself down the interviewer's shirt. He didn't seem to react.
"It's been centuries since I've had a proper meal. Yes, so hungry."
I shrieked internally. I could hear the splashing of slobber shattering the ground.
"Good. You may now sit."
I looked back at Pincer once I followed his command. He seemed to have turned back into a normal parrot, pecking away at the interviewer's hair and clothes. I'm more nervous than ever at this point. Something is clearly wrong here, but I don't think anything good will happen if I try to leave this interview without completing it. I try to convince myself that it couldn't get any worse. An effort in vain. "Okay, let's start the interviewer looked to my right before being cut off. And by cut off, I mean a good half of his face was mauled and completely removed. The upper diagonal half of what used to be his head formed a sort of cup where anything that did not plop on the ground already poured out slowly in a mesh of dark red and pink. His body slouched and fell under the desk. I instantly puked on the remains. There was no way anybody would have been strong enough to witness something like this. After wiping the edges of my mouth with my hand, I kept my gaze downward, but brought my head back up. Whatever did this was sitting across from me now. "Welcome to your interview, Mr. Winchef. My name is Durant, and I will be your interviewer for the day." I didn't bother to raise my eyes. I couldn't even tell what time it was. But I started counting seconds once he teleported to the other side of the desk. 578. 579. "Chester, why are you counting?" "Oh, is it because I'm going to eat you if you look at or talk to me before it's been 11 minutes? He let out a hearty, belly laugh. Pincer squawked in unison. "Isn't that true?" The words just came out of my mouth on their own volition. My eyes were locked onto the previous interviewer's carcass.
"Is there a reason you're talking?"
I could only whimper in Pincer's presence. The pressure was too overwhelming. "Calm down, Pincer. There's no need for that." Pincer retreated to his normal self. "Lift your head up now, Chester." Snot from my nose catapulted onto the desk as I did. What I was beholding was a creature who looked like it tried its best to impersonate a human's appearance, but to cover its mistakes, it riddled itself with gashes, scars, tattoos, and piercings. His flesh was a manila hue and had circular protrusions kind of like bubble wrap. What gave away what type of animal he was his elongated snout. Rows and rows of jagged teeth jutted out, specks of red gleaming in the light from the lamp on the ceiling. This was Durant. He was a crocodile. A freaking talking crocodile. Good. He smiled at me. What happened to following the rules? Aren't I technically disqualified now? Vicky specifically said I should follow those pointers to the letter. He looked confused. Rules? Oh, the email. Vicky sends those out to everybody to keep them on their toes. We don't want anybody who will not be vigilant or show the utmost attention at their job here at the zoo. Now, we do have rules you have to follow and keep up with, but those are secondary to what you will be doing here, and will be shown to you if you get the job. A few seconds go by. So, what happens now? What happens now? You're going to be interviewed, of course. Who was he? Why was he here? I pointed to the corpse, his body already beginning to rot. Oh, him. He played his role, but now that is over. Pincer, clean this up, will ya? He looked at me. You might want to look away. Pincer's demonic form emerged again, but I closed my eyes in time. All I heard was the shuffling of something heavy across the floor, some munching sounds, and a giant gulp. After a few seconds, I opened them back up. Congratulations, you made it farther than most people do. They usually try to run, but they forget that we're animals, and that we're born and bred to be hunters. He bared his teeth in a sinister expression, blood still dripping from them, discouraging me from any attempts to flee. What happens now? I spoke slowly to negate the fear. You keep asking the same questions and it's getting quite annoying. But let's be calm, Chester. I'm not going to kill you, and neither is Pincer, even though he would absolutely love to. Pincer slurped up a little piece of meat that was dangling from his beak. Now, it is time for your interview. Durant opened his jaw wide enough to fit an entire person down his throat, exposing extra sets of acute ivories, kind of like Pennywise from It. He delved his entire arm into his mouth, slightly gagging here and there, causing me to become queasy. Durant pulled his arm back out and in one swift motion, placed something on the table, covering it with his hand. Are you ready? Yes. Don't be scared, Chester. I will explain everything and alleviate your concerns once I reveal what is under here. Do you understand? I nodded. He pulled his arm away and I immediately fell to the floor. I took a while to get back up, staring at the object that was on the desk in front of me. It was alive, beating heart. Why do you have that? Because this right here is your interview. We at the zoo have to know if you are capable of following commands and completing tasks. These tasks are what you would consider challenges. One of your most important duties here at the zoo, should you get the job, will involve this little thing right here. He played around with the heart like it was a ball of Play-Doh. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that I had to strengthen my resolve. I had to control my fear. It was either that or die. My thoughts went back to the man who used to be sitting on that chair, his brain and blood pouring out, his skull shattered into pieces. I didn't want to end up like that. I was going to do whatever it took. Durant and Pincer walked out of the room, leaving me with the heart. They told me to keep my eyes on it, and that they would know if I didn't. Its beat was lethargic, yet oddly melodic. I could see a fusion of red, pink, and blue slashing around as each thumping gesture was made. It fascinated me more than anything I had ever witnessed. A live heart right in front of my eyes. I was never into anatomy or anything like that, but here was something that I felt like, if I brought it to the right people, could revolutionize medical practices around the globe. However, all the strange events that had occurred so far today reminded me of one thing. Life is fleeting. This heart was going to be crushed right in front of me. I know it. Life was held in this one little organ, and it was so easy to destroy. The sound of the door slamming open startled my train of thought, but Durant and Pincer did not walk in. It was Jello. Mr. Winchef, I have received permission from Durant and Pincer to proctor your interview. Your interview consists of a challenge, one of many challenges you will face here in the zoo, if you get the position. I had to go through this, and so did Hallie and Vicky and the other employees who work here. That heart, she pointed at the table, her elbows cracking once again, is your key. Find the lock. Her arm directs her hand towards the door in the back of the interview room. I stepped inside, Jello slamming the door shut behind me. I had never been in a more ominous room before. I didn't even want to take any steps until my eyes adjusted to the darkness. Soon enough, a few weak lights flickered on. There were 3 bodies neatly placed in front of me. They looked as though they were lying on train tracks before being tied up, except for the fact that they were clearly dead. All 3 of them were cleaned, dressed, and pampered before they were brought here. However, they all shared one thing in common. A hole had been drilled, or more so, created in their chest cavity. The hole was large enough to accept a human heart. Can you hear me, Mr. Winchef? If so, say yes. Jello's voice boomed throughout my entire body. Yes. Good. As you know, the heart is what makes us different from other animals. Their hearts beat, but ours play a rhythm. A melodic rhythm when happy, a slow rhythm when sad, and an erratic rhythm when afraid. But everybody's rhythm is different. Each one is its own, unique ensemble. The wrong heart in the wrong person will result in a silent, yet conspicuous dissonance in the world. This is your challenge. Find the correct person belonging to this righteous heart. You have only one attempt. Success means passageway into employment. Failure means certain death. You have 3 hours starting now. Good luck. The voice cut out. My body couldn't move. The heart beat solemnly in my left hand, the blood sloshing around. I clenched it a little tighter. It felt like a toy for relieving stress. I looked around the room for a clock, but I couldn't find one. I assumed that at least 15 minutes had passed since Jello gave me the directive. Find the correct person belonging to this righteous heart. What the hell does that even mean? Am I supposed to just place the heart in one of these dead bodies and they come back to life? Is that a success? Or is that a failure? I started stress squeezing it. I walked over to the 3 bodies. 2 of them were men and 1 was a woman. I started with the rightmost body, one of the men. He was wearing the same style gray suit that I had on, except his collar was rimmed with a jet black. Under the jacket was a crimson red shirt and a black tie. This man was definitely here for an interview, probably weeks before I was. I shuddered. This could be me for the next unlucky soul that comes in. The hole in his chest, from a glance, was the exact same size as the heart. I was tempted to place it in and just accept what came, but that would be morally incorrect. What if I put the heart into him? Would he be the same? Would he be permanently something else? Would he become a monster? I didn't want that happening. The next person in the middle was the woman. She looked to have been in her late 20s, and just like me. She had one of those faces that just made you want to be friends with her. Her brunette hair was gleaming in the mediocre light produced by the lamps, but it was breathtaking. Maybe she was the righteous person. Maybe this heart deserves to be in her, even if it wasn't hers to begin with. What if she was actually a crazed serial killer who killed for fun? What if she murdered children? It was impossible to ration out what kind of person she was when she was alive. She was equally as unknown to the heart as the first man was. I was beginning to believe this entire process was futile, and that's when I approached the last corpse. He donned a kimono, the left side of it a dark green, the right side an orchard pink. His head was shaved, save for the lone ponytail resting against the stone floor. He had a sheath attached to his hip, but no sign of a katana. He looked like someone straight out of feudal Japan, a man who breathed his last, obeying his code and his shogun leader. I saw recollections upon recollections of a man fighting to feed his family, staving off bandits, helping those in need. The hole in his chest was a little different from the other two. It was bright. A soft white glow hit my face as I got closer. 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 The heart was moving in conjunction. This has to be the right one. His soul is pure. I can see it. Feel it. It has to be. I could hear a laugh in the distance. I saw the silhouette of a man stabbing at a child who was burning to death. No sense of remorse in his reflection. I saw him sheathing his weapon and leaving a woman and another child behind in the fire, clutching at the chest of the dead father. This was madness. I couldn't do it, no matter how much the light tempted me, no matter how fast the heart was thumping near the samurai. How could someone like me, who had accomplished nothing in his life, who dropped out of college, who disappointed his parents, who had no worthy qualifications to live upon, decide the owner of a righteous heart? I started to cry. And then I remembered why I was here. I had nothing. I needed something. This job, being a zoo specialist, was what I needed. The feeling of importance, I needed it. Being recognized, I needed it. And this was the way to get it. And so I destroyed the heart. I squeezed it out of existence, tore at it like wild dogs do to a stray lamb. I let the blood cascade down my hand, down my arm and onto my chest. A crazed mental state had taken over me, and there was nothing that I could do to stop it. And then, a voice. "Mr. Winchef! Mr. Winchef!" I halted my movements. The remaining scraps of the heart slipped out of my grasp and began a bloodied mess on the floor. I was shaking when someone had barged in and dragged me back into the interview room. I was scared beyond words. What had I done? I clearly did not follow the instructions. Was I about to get eaten? Was this all for nothing? Durant had cleared my anxieties. "I don't know how you did it, but you are the fastest one to have realized it." "What?" He stopped me. He stared, his eyes scrutinizing. "Why did you destroy the heart? Why did you not place it in the samurai, or one of the other two?" "I didn't deserve to put it in him. I didn't deserve to put it in any of them. Neither did they deserve it for themselves. And then the truth came out. I wanted the heart for myself. If I couldn't have it, no one could. And so I killed it. Durant smirked. You're more fit for this job than I thought you would be. Pincer and I were about ready to eat you whole, make you another object for our interviews. But it seems as though there's no need for that. Durant nodded at Pincer and Jello. She opened the back room for Pincer as he transformed. The nightmarish crunching sounds could be heard, even from here. I didn't flinch. The heart of humans is never a righteous one. Many humans I have passed, many humans I have eaten, but not a single one had a pure heart. Those three in there were, in the outside world, what people would consider good. But inside their heart was their true nature. Humans have always had two sides to them. You have your altruistic, kind and generous side, and you have your malicious, evil, selfish side. Most animals, including humans, take to the latter. But it seems you are capable of bearing your benign side in equal weight with your nefarious half. That will be a very necessary asset here. He averted his gaze to the back room. Do you know how many prospective employees have placed the heart into one of the three corpses? 134 of the last 144. There's only 10 employees working here. 11. Durant flashed his teeth in the most amicable smile he could muster. Welcome to the team, Chester. I cried with a mix of relief, sadness, and joy. I was happy that I had got the job, and I was sad by what I had to accomplish in order to do so. But most of all, I was just relieved that I didn't end up like the previous interviewer. After not hearing anything further, I looked back at Durant. His eyes were bulging and his jaw had opened exponentially. All the little hairs on my arms stood up. I prepared myself for him to bring something out of the depths of his body again. But that was not what he did. The next thing I knew, my chest had been forced open. Imagine being a door. You're stuck, closed in order to stave off your enemies. But they have a battering ram. And this battering ram has sharp mandibles, ready to gnaw and eat through anyone and anything that got in its way. I couldn't look down. The hot blood had dribbled onto my shirt, its liquid weight pressing against my flesh, warming it up just a little. Durant released himself from my chest and held out my heart. I reached for it, tears welling up in my eyes. And now, you are truly a member of our team. Your first day starts next Monday. Be here on time. And with that, I passed out.